Hello and welcome to episode number 1 of Internet Dragons TV. My name is Roger, and if you're new to IDTV, allow me to bring you up to speed before introducing my two co-hosts. Now, prior to Internet Dragons TV, we worked on a little something called For the Lore. It was a podcast that was devoted to story-driven games, which started in 2009 and ended recently, having clocked in 130 episodes. Now, 128 of those are still available for download, and you can get them from the link on internetdragons.tv. Now, I would strongly suggest you go and check them out, or you can check them out on iTunes as well, and get a feel for who we are, because we did some good work there. Now, with that said, it is time to introduce my co-host. So we'll start with the man that you probably know the most right now, thanks to his terrible ninja gaming skills, and that is Vince. He and I also work on a comic book podcast, which I encourage you all to check out as well. It's available at comicbookinformer.com. Just as with For the Lore, you will hear us mention it periodically here. So Vince, welcome to the show.
I'm a freaking ninja.
Dude, you are a terrible ninja. Seriously, terrible freaking ninja.
But I am a ninja.
You are. Speaking of terrible, next up we have the worst enhancement freaking ninja pants shaman I've ever had the pleasure of mini pet hunting with. You also know him as the Resto Shaman feature writer for WoW Insider. So, Mr. Joe, welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be recording again. And Vince, I don't believe you're a ninja. You can't possibly be a ninja.
No, he's not that stealthy. It's all the fur. It slows him down.
See,
it
me on the other
when
hand, when I'm a ninja, Roger doesn't notice until like a half an hour later.
No, that's because you don't reply to shit until a half hour later. That's not being stealthy. That's ignoring people. There's a difference.
But I was talking with you and you just ignored it. That's not my fault.
No. Not you. Not you.
Oblivious bastard.
He totally replied. He just didn't hit enter. That's the true way of
Oh, I did. I did.
So, like I said, we worked on For the Lore before that and wanted to take just a brief moment to talk about our last episodes. We're not going to do too much on it, but just to talk about it, because episode 130 was actually a phenomenal episode that we recorded. We had a blast. There was hours of chatting and drinking and having a grand old time. We did broadcast it live, and the lucky few who showed up actually got to hear it, because what happened is that there was a software failure afterwards, and we lost the episode. Now, we discussed whether or not we would record it again, which we all agreed we ain't doing that shit again this soon. You can't recreate that kind of fun. And so we thought, well, maybe in a little while we'll kind of just do a quick recap and go from there. And then it was decided, well, we'll talk a little bit maybe once we start IDTV, the vidcast. And now I'm at the point where I'm thinking, we've moved on. IDTV is doing well. We're having fun with the videos that we're doing, and this is who we are now. Unless you guys have something to talk about, I think we can move on to the actual topic of hand for this first episode.
No, I'm good. We're good.
Yeah. So the obvious topic, if you're watching the screen and you didn't just get the audio version of this, is The Walking Dead. Now, The Walking Dead came out in, I believe it was April it came out, and we were fairly excited for it, especially being the lore junkies that we were, because we knew that it would be just dripping with story and lore. Now, some people were a little bit more hesitant about it because they thought that maybe it would not have enough to it being a Telltale game. And those people were pretty much shut up immediately after playing the first episode. So this was episodic content. You probably all already know that, and we just finished episode 5. Now, what's funny is that it didn't take long for this game to really hit its stride and to impress pretty much anybody who played it. So nobody was really surprised when it was nominated for Game of the Year from a variety of game review sites. However, I think that there were still a lot of people that were surprised that it actually won, though, especially at the VGAs just recently. And the VGAs, they would normally err on the side of caution with the big budget games. And it was funny because there were quotes from GTTV, which is his sister site to Spike TV, Shane Satterfield, who was talking about the fact that it was nominated for Game of the Year. And he's actually a VGA judge. He's editor-in-chief of GameTrailers.com. And he was saying, just a direct quote here, when you look at a game that takes a few hours to make, which I'm hoping he meant to play, versus a game that you can span 20, 30, 40 hours, or if you have multiplayer, it can go on for hundreds of hours, and you look at the work that goes into those games to be sustainable for that period of time, it's almost not fair to me to include these games that are built by smaller teams that only hold your interest for a shorter period of time. So right from the get-go, Vince, what do you think of that bullshit? See, I'm kind of coloring your thoughts there because you obviously know what I think.
Well, I've seen plenty of movies that have had huge budgets and hundreds of people working on them that were garbage, and plenty of smaller films that, won Oscars for Best Film of the Year. So, I mean, it's the same premise here. The quality should be the only thing to judge it on.
Joe?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And especially when you consider that a lot of these smaller teams, a lot of our favorite games over even just the last year, they're made by these really small teams that are putting their heart and soul into the game and making a quality product. You can have thousands of employees working on the project and have an absolute shit product at the end of it. It happens. But when it comes to small, you shouldn't be just coloring your perceptions based on the size of the team and the amount of money in production. I've seen indie projects that have been absolutely phenomenal, and I've seen, multi-billion-dollar projects fall flat on their face, judged by the quality of the end product. That's all it should be.
Well, see, it even goes further than that. We have somebody who appears on GTTV periodically as well. That's industry analyst. I love that. Like, that's the quote freaking title you want to make for yourself. Michael Patcher, who said those games don't have a prayer. They're not going to win. Of course, this was before it actually won. And of course, he's talking as well about Journey, which was nominated for a lot of awards and won some as well. And he goes on, and this is from IGN too. They were saying he instead predicted that the judges panel would go for the obvious stuff, something popular. He also claimed the nomination of games like Journey and The Walking Dead were a move by quote unquote a new age awards program and trying to throw some props to somebody who tried something bold. And to me, that is the most condescending piece of shit. How about they're getting nominated because they deserve it, because they busted their ass and made something of quality? How about that instead of patronizing them?
Well, these guys, especially Pachter, because I mean he's all about the AAA titles and sucking up to the big companies. Like, they can't accept that. Like in film, when the I keep drawing that illusion, but when the smaller production studios started, really making great stuff, when Spielberg and Lucas and all them were really starting to fight back against the studio system, the entire industry rebelled against that until the quality of their work really made them rise to the top. So we're kind of getting the same thing here with gaming, where all these people who have built their careers around, Activision and EA and the big companies are having a hard time accepting these smaller companies really jumping up and taking the limelight.
Well, I think part of that too is because a lot of these smaller companies are made up of former employees of these AAA companies.
Yes.
Well, just going to throw that out there.
Now, in terms of this one as well, too, I'm not going to speak to the quality of Journey because right now we're talking about The Walking Dead. But, I mean, we just saw on the screen Lee losing his arm. Okay, well, not losing it being taken off. And you have to wonder, now, there's the IP is popular because of how graphic and how visceral it is. So do you think that, how much of an impact do you think that had on these decisions? It's not just about looking at the caliber of the work that went in, the amazing voice acting and all of the great writing, but just the pure visceral appeal of the Walking Dead IP. How much of an impact do you think that had on it? So case in point, as an example, if this had been for another IP that's not quite as strong, but with the same quality of writing and with the same great voice acting, do you think it would have gone quite as far? Joe, what do you think?
I do, actually, and because you see a lot of bloody, visceral games out there that are super popular and people absolutely adore them. It's not so much just that's the nature of the IP that makes it popular. It's just something that happens inside of that universe. I mean, really, the lure of this game, the part that is so awesome about it, is the caliber of voice acting and the caliber of writing. If you have good writing, you have good voice acting, and you have good scene setup too, because let's not, if this was any other thing, if this was aliens instead of zombies and the same stuff was going on, you'd still get a lot of the same feels in some of the regards too. Or if it was a virus outbreak or something like that, it's it's really rests on that writing and the characterization, not just the bloody nature of it, not just the visceral nature.
Because again, it is one of those, it's still a point and click. And the question then remains, are we ready to have a point and click that is not from a known exceptionally popular IP that's going to be taking Game of the Year away from the AAAs like your Assassin's Creed 3, and Dishonored is brand new, but still the people working on it, Bethesda, of course. So it's whether or not a point and click can do that well, regardless of what it is, what IP it is. Vince, what do you think?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I do think that having the Walking Dead IP behind it was a definite point in its favor. I mean, right now, The Walking Dead as a franchise is probably the most popular thing out there right now. And the wet turd of their mid-season finale last week was, it broke records. It was, I forget exactly all the records it broke, but it's the highest, most watched, whatever, primetime drama. You know, it broke all kinds of records, even going up against regular network TV, not just cable TV. So I think having that popularity for The Walking Dead itself really helped, because it was selling. You know, the people were interested in it. I don't think if nobody had played this game, if it had been a different game with a lesser IP, I don't think it would have been quite as high up on many people's lists as it was, even if it had the same quality.
Joe, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, I agree to a certain extent about that, but we're starting to see a lot more point-and-click games that are coming out now from indie developers that are starting to produce this type of caliber work with, you know, good soundtracks, good writing, amazing visuals, great characterization, that I think we are going to start popping up on the list. And they're either brand new IPs or ones that, you know, are not as popular as this. While I agree that Walking Dead was a point in its favor, that the IP that it was based in definitely helped it out there and drew some attention towards it. I also maintain that if the game was shit, people wouldn't have played it or really cared about it that much, despite the IP.
Definitely. And the thing to keep in mind, too, which we talked about on For the Lore, too, the strength of the writing is so high that that is what carries the series. And, of course, the work that goes into the voice acting and everything else, but I mean, the writing is so good that they make us care about these other characters than the normal characters that we know from the IP, from either reading the comic books or watching the TV show, but especially the comic books. Like, yes, we get Glenn for a little bit and Herschel and things like that, but those aren't the people that we care about. The people we care about are the ones that they invented for this game, and that speaks again to the writing of the series. When you're looking at especially on Twitter with Telltale and what they were doing with what would you do for Clementine kind of thing, and like, I mean, it's freaking trending because so many people are playing this game, so many people love this game, and so many people have so quickly fallen in love with that little girl. That speaks to the strength of the writing. But then I look at it in terms of when you're looking at that IP, that setting, the well is so full, like you can do so very much with it that can be amazing. So I think that it's actually easier as a writer to draw from this IP than it would be for others, and which isn't to say that they can't do it, of course, or can't do it well, but I think that this had a big impact on how good the game was because it was building on such fertile ground. So, okay, let's talk a little bit, go back to some of the, to the prior episodes. And I want to get a feel for where you guys kind of bounced around, because if you haven't played the game, of course, there's moral choices along the way. Or I shouldn't even say moral choices. There are choices that you're going to make along the way. And then, of course, those choices are carrying throughout the episode. And I really liked how they did that, too. I mean, we saw that to a degree with Mass Effect, which was one of the bigger ones with consequences and things like that. Of course, at the end, it didn't matter what you chose. But I digress. So when you're looking here, I liked how it kept impacting, those choices kept impacting all the way to episode 5. Not necessarily always in a huge way, though some of them were, but you really got a feel for the characters, and and you were far closer with Lee, of course, because you were living him as you thought he should be. He should be played, kind of thing. So I mean, that was an interesting thing that I was kidding around with Joe when you were saying he's such a great character, and I was saying he's an egomaniac. Of course he is. He's you. You're deciding everything, so of course you love him.
I didn't say great character. I said badass.
No,
big difference there.
So anyways, looking at, okay, let's start with episode 1 then. And episode 1 is, of course, where the shit hits the fan, and this is where they are they're going to Herschel's farm. They're also finding the kid in the bush. Well, the kid's in the bush with what appears to be, I can't remember if it was their teacher or not.
That was episode 2, I think.
Was it 2?
Yeah, because that was after they were at the motel.
Yes.
You're right. Okay, so I've got the choices, though, for episode 1, because this is a wonderful thing about the game. At the end, when you're done playing that episode, it tells you, based on the metrics that it's accumulating, who did the same things as you, what the percentages are. So, like...
I'm not a horrible person this time.
You know what, dude? I was looking at some of these and I was going, who would choose... Oh, Vince.
Okay, I was not a horrible person, so for every choice this time.
Okay, so did either of you lie to Herschel?
No, I was truthful.
I don't remember. I think I was just kind of dodging it. I didn't lie to him, but I didn't really tell him anything either.
See, I liked that as I'm reading this too. You can see how the majority of the people, with you as an exception, actually wanted to be a goodly and someone that could be taking care of Clementine and could be a decent person, kind of thing. And so, like, yeah, we had like 62% of the people told the truth to Herschel. And then when we're looking at people who saved Duck versus Sean, because that was probably the biggest consequence, that, and it was fairly early on too. We have 49% of the people saved Duck, which is Kenny's kid, of course, and then 48% saved Sean, who was Herschel's kid, but not a kid anymore. He was either an adult or in his early 20s. And I like that 3% chose neither. And you know what that is? That is people who couldn't do it in time because it was so fast.
That was the first time you really felt the timer ticking away.
Yeah, and that was a quick timer too.
Very quick and very... It just panicked the crap out of me. It was like, oh my God. I actually saved Duck myself. I'm assuming you guys did the same?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then did you guys in the first episode side with Kenny or did you side with Larry?
You see,
Kenny.
this is one of those ones where the game kind of messes with you because in that instance, I was trying to stay neutral because my entire thought for this first episode was I just want to do stuff that's not going to screw me. So I was like, okay, try and play it safe, keep everybody happy. But apparently playing it neutral was enough for Kenny to turn, freaking atomic. Like, you didn't stand up for me.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything bad either. Calm down, dude.
And I went for Kenny because I figured he would be the most useful later on. Like, I was like trying to plan ahead, like, okay, who's going to be more useful to me later on? All right, I'm going to stick up for Kenny.
Redneck in the zombie apocalypse. Yeah, you can't go
redneck in a zombie apocalypse. You want a redneck in a zombie apocalypse. That's a given.
Well, I actually sided with Kenny as well, just because Larry'd been getting on my nerves up until that point. He was just, when the salt lick was dropped on his head, there were no tears shed. Let me put it to you that way. Okay. And then we got Doug as well at the end. And then you either got to save.
It was so funny when I was reading your review for episode 4 and you kept talking about Doug. I'm like, who the hell is Doug?
Well, Doug, I don't know if you guys know this, but he was actually he was a prior employee of Telltale Games. And
yes.
So the character was based on him. And that was when they were doing the promotion for the pre-orders so that you could be in the game and showing the here's Doug, one of our ex-employees, kind of thing. But I kept Doug alive, and I was in the minority here because it was 25% who saved Doug when everybody was being attacked in the convenience store there, and 75% saved Carly, who was the woman that was in the group at the beginning, and she knew that you were a convict. So at that point, my wanting to save my ass kicked into high gear. It's like, I'm not putting up with the zombies and you are chomping on my ass. So it's like, I'll save Doug. He was a nice guy.
See, I saved Carly.
Vince?
Yeah, for me, it was more, she knew my secret, but she didn't say anything about it, and that kind of earned her some points in my book.
All right. Okay, so moving on to episode 2. Now, this is the one where you either chop off David's leg, he was the one that was in the bush, or you just left him there to die. We actually talked on this on one of the For the Lower episodes when we were playing this. I actually chopped the leg off, and it was freaking, want to talk about visceral and brutal. I did chop the leg off. Of course, he didn't survive anyways. What'd you guys do?
I totally left him to die.
You were of the 15% then.
Yeah, I was the 15%.
Vince?
No, I Sam Jacksoned him.
All right. And then there was also the woman who had been bitten, Jolene, and she'd been bitten and she
Had
wanted
she been
the
bitten?
Yeah,
I thought she was just a nutbag.
No, she had actually gotten
was just a
bitten.
nutbag.
No, she didn't. She got bit. Her side was all bloody. She'd gotten bitten. So you could either shoot her or you could, what was it? Shot her or waited.
Yeah,
So
you just kind of
let's
stand
give
there
her
and
the
try
gun.
to figure it out, and
Yeah.
the crazy cannibal
Talking about
shoots her
episode two,
instead.
you either listen to her or you go ahead and shoot her quickly. That was your choice for
No,
that.
there was another one because I let her take the gun. You could let her take.
That's episode 1, dude.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. That's Irene.
That's Irene. You're right. Okay, which one is Jolene again?
Jolene's the crazy lady in the camp that had like Clementine's
You're
hat and
right.
stuff.
You're right. Yeah. Well, yeah. When you find out later when she went through, no kidding. Okay. Yeah. No. So crazy lady though. What did you guys do with Irene?
I listened to her because at this point in time, if she's not going into a zombie, like if she's not like turning and she's got stuff to say, I'm gonna fucking listen because there
So
might
you
be
didn't
something
give her the
useful
gun.
in there I can use later.
Vince, did you give her the
Yeah,
gun?
I didn't trust those guys, so I was hoping she would tell me something.
See, I gave her the gun. I let her put herself out of her misery. So Jolene, though, that's the Mexican standoff that they had going on.
Yes.
So I
Across the-
didn't shoot her either, just because it was interesting to find out what was going on. So that was 87% of people actually waited to hear the whole story. And then that's the one also where you are on the farm and they're carving up people and serving the human meat. And it was interesting. Stopped Clementine from eating human meat. 65% stopped her. 35% didn't.
I think that's the timer again.
I think
you had
it's
to
Lee
haul
going
ass down
downstairs
those
going,
stairs.
probably tastes like bologna. Whatever. And then
But of course, there was the best part where Larry's arguing.
yeah.
and your dialogue choices. Eat up, Larry.
Yeah, really. And then, of course, you can help kill Larry, and you're helping Kenny to kill Larry because he had a heart attack, he died, or you can try to revive him. So we got 32% of people helped kill him, and 68% actually tried to revive him. I tried to revive him, and just because it gave you that really amazing cinematic
God.
of the salt lick on the head and all that followed.
See, here, because I tried to play it safe back in episode 1, Kenny was still, being Kenny. I was like, okay, me and Kenny aren't getting along. I need to, work my way in with Team Lily right about now. So all of episode 2, I was just being nice to Lily and Larry. I was like, yeah, we're a big, happy family.
You chose the wrong horse there, buddy.
Clearly.
Joe, what did you do?
With Mr. Heart Attack, or were you talking about?
Yeah, with Larry.
Yeah, Mr. Heart Attack. I honestly killed him.
Oh, all righty then. What about Danny?
No,
Did you?
I wasn't about to take a risk. It was one of those things.
Well, that would have been one
attacking-
big ass freaking zombie.
Exactly. I mean, I don't want that thing. I don't want that thing coming back after me. So fuck it, kill him.
He already had a grudge against you as well, too. I'm sure that would have held on.
I'm not sure the dead honestly forget about the living all that much. He would have come right straight for my black ass.
It's
Lovely was closer.
What about killing Danny? Did you kill him or spare him?
I spared him.
Really,
Yeah.
Joe?
Killed the brothers.
Yeah, I pitchforked through the freaking chest.
Yep.
You're dead.
Oh yeah.
Poor Clementine
Again.
to watch.
Yeah, I don't care.
Happy about
Hard
it.
lesson. You got to learn it, kiddo.
Exactly. She's got to learn how to survive in this world. And if I'm not about to let somebody who might come back and kill me later or try to find me and fuck me over come and get me. So you know
I'm
what?
sorry, cannibals? No,
Pitch-
cannibals, they can die.
Exactly. Yep.
So 55% of us.
On that one, apparently.
No, actually, we're not. 55% of us killed Danny, and 45 did not. I love the punching Andy. They have a statistic of how many times Andy was punched. 1,435,645 to date. I love that they put that there too. And I actually spared him just because at that point it was being overrun by zombies, and just seeing that final cinematic with his mom coming out as a zombie towards him. Oh, no fate can be worse than that. That was priceless. And then the taking the supplies. Now this is probably, I would think, the biggest choice in the game, although you wouldn't know it at the time.
Does this come back?
Now, the thing is that I don't know how this impacted the end of the game because I haven't read up on it. I know it based on what I did, but now I'm very curious, and we'll see whether you guys did it differently than me, because I took the supplies, of course. So I was of the 56%. So what did you guys do, Vince?
See, Clementine was giving me those sad puppy dog eyes, be good, Lee, don't do it. So I left them.
Really? Okay, Joe?
I took the shit.
So did I. Okay, this is gonna...
I had a kid to worry about.
Poor bastards.
Hey, it's a freaking...
Hey, there's cheese and crackers. We're good.
No, we weren't. We were in sad shape.
She's got a quarter of an apple waiting for her back at the motel.
You eat those seeds. Okay, this is going to come into play into our conversation once we get to episode 5 then. Let's move on to 3. So 3 here, this is where Lily goes off the freaking deep end. Now in mine, because Doug was still alive, she shot Doug. And now from there, 45% of people decided to abandon Lily, and 55 brought her along in cuffs and everything else. I brought her along. I didn't leave her behind. What did you guys do?
I left her for zombie chow.
Because again, it was one of those things. You're on the side of the road. Who knows? The gunshot's going to draw attention. It's like, just get in the frickin' van. We'll figure this out later.
Okay. And I can't remember, this isn't the... Oh, no, Chuck winds up coming at either the beginning of episode 3 or the end of... Or
Chuck
sorry,
beat him about halfway through.
Halfway through, yeah.
Yeah, he was actually a fantastic character. Old hobo drunk, but man, he was an interesting character. Died like a champ. But yeah, no, he was cool to have around. And so then that's also where you meet Omid and Krista. And there was a little choice there with who you're going to let on the freaking train and all that. Not quite as important. The big one, of course, for this episode was whether you shot Duck, who had been infected, or if you forced Kenny to shoot Duck. I actually shot Duck, and apparently the majority of people did, because it's at 81% of people did. So what did you guys do?
I killed the kid.
Okay, Vince?
Yeah, we're all in agreement there.
Yeah. I'd like to see what the cinematic is, and especially now that I got no use for Kenny, I'd be like, he's your freaking brat. You sired that piece of shit. You kill him. Okay. He's getting a little pale. May want to do it soon. And of course, at the end of that too is when you see that Katya couldn't stand it anymore and she killed herself. So Kenny's in a bad way here. Lost both his wife and his son. And then episode 4 is... immediately almost you're getting into Savannah. You've been planning on what you're going to do once you're going to be getting into Savannah with Clementine.
Before we get into Savannah, can I just say how much I loved that scene on the train with Lee and Clementine when he's teaching her how to shoot, he's cutting her hair, they're going through the that scene was probably one of the best bits of the entire game series.
Oh really?
It's pure humanity.
I liked it too. I don't think that I put it as my favorite of the whole thing, but no, I did like it. It really showed off the strength of the voice acting, in my opinion. Any of those moments that you had with all of the characters too. I mean, I know that Melissa Hutchinson won for Clementine for the Spike VGAs for best performance. Sadly, Lee did not win. Dave Fennoy didn't. Although I kind of agree that Handsome Jack should have won that one.
Oh, absolutely.
But still, Lee. I mean, Dave does such a great job with Lee. But I mean, when you're hearing Lee with any of the characters, they when you're talking about that episode, there's also all of the stuff between him and Kenny in the main car at the front. So like They're fight. You can choose whether you want to fight with him or not, or talk him down. There's a lot there because Kenny just lost his wife and his kid. And as much as you hate the character of Kenny at times, man, the voice acting was great there too because you can feel his pain.
I actually really liked Kenny.
I guess it would depend, again, if you really sided with him.
I'm related to a few Kennys. So.
I mean, if you did not miss a single thing with him, because, man, if you were slow with one freaking thing, he would not let you forget it. So I think that if you really stuck together, then maybe he was a better guy. But, man, although that being said, again, when we're looking at episode 4 and you're seeing a lot of the things 4 and 5 between Kenny and Lee, and I think especially in 5, once you've had your blowout, if you just decided to have the blowout, the stuff in 5, especially like when they're having a drink on the couch upstairs in that home kind of thing, there's a lot of moments there where you're feeling for these people, and you can feel that regardless of what they think about each other, they now have this relationship, the two guys kind of thing. And I mean, tons of power there. Okay, so back to 4. So 4, you get into Savannah, you hide out in a house, and you find out as you're clearing it that in the attic there is a boy who had holed himself up in there and who is just skin and bones because he'd run out of food and water and died up there. Kenny's the one that finds him. That scene where you go and you see Kenny on his knees and you see the silhouette of the kid, it was like just freaking heart-wrenching. And then the kid, of course, has to be put down. The question then becomes, again, Kenny just lost his family. Either you killed his son or he killed him himself. Did you kill the boy in the attic or did you have Kenny do it? Vince?
Well, I mean, at this point, I'm feeling so bad for Kenny. I was like, oh my God, whatever you want, buddy, I got this. But also, since the whole Team Lily plan didn't work out too well in my favor, I was sucking up to Kenny so hard in this episode. I was like, I got to get one of these people to like me.
Okay, Joe?
I made the hard choice and killed him for him because, I mean, at this point, it's like Kenny's been through a lot, and I'm going to need him still later on, and I need him on his game. I can be a heartless bastard if I need to be, so I killed the kid.
Yeah, well, 75% of us decided to kill the boy in the attic. So, and then from then on, you're going through sewers as well, and you're meeting up with a bunch of people who are underneath.
I hated that sewer. Oh my God, that was a pain in the ass.
It was a pain in the ass. Until you kind of figured out the mechanics of where to hide and things like that, then it wasn't quite as bad. But no, there was one fight, especially the one right after Chuck, when you find Chuck partially eaten, and then there's the one zombie that's in your way, and then if you don't time it just right, she calls all of them over, and then you're rushing. So it took me a few tries to finally get it so that she didn't call everybody over, and then I could take my time with the freaking door thing that was hidden kind of thing. But up until then, it was a pain in the ass. Okay, so down there you meet a doctor, Vernon, and he's got some survivors, cancer survivors actually, and so you talk to him and you either threaten him or you reason with him, kind of thing, and then basically you are running through a lot of things like that. You are running through the Crawford little community that turned, which I thought that was really well done. That episode was so gripping. It was unbelievable. When you looked at, I mean, it started off with the kid in the attic, which set you up with, like, this is going to be such a hard episode to take emotionally, because the whole freaking series has been. This is not going to be any different. And then you're going
at this point, we're strapped in.
Yeah,
we're
really.
Like, okay, I'm ready. Yeah. You got the bottle of Jack nearby. You're like, okay.
And so then you find out about Crawford, and you find that out from one of the new characters, Molly, who was this fantastic character. And I like that she didn't die. Here's a character that you can have in the show for a while and then take off and not take off because she died. But there's a lot going on with her in this community, Crawford, and you find that out once you go inside. Did you guys both take Clem with you when you went into Crawford, or did you leave her behind?
I brought her.
Okay, Vince?
What's wrong with you people?
Wow.
Why would you take a little girl?
Hey, you're the one that said she's got to learn to protect herself.
No,
exactly.
That was Joe.
Oh, you implied it.
No.
Yeah, she's got to learn to protect herself. This world sucks.
Listen, I taught her how to shoot, but I wasn't going to put her into danger.
See, the way that I looked at it was that you had just prior to that well, at least I did in the choices that I'd made, been telling her that she's got to be strong, she's got to learn to fight, she's got to be.
But
you left her behind.
She was pouting and huffing, but I was like, no, you gotta stay. There's no way I'm bringing her. Especially, I didn't know what I was going to run into at Crawford. If I'd known it was zombies, I'd sure, come along, But I'm expecting, bad people.
Yeah. Well, I brought her along as well. You're actually in the majority because it was 75%.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, sorry, we are 74% of people brought her along. 26% told her to stay.
So what happened when you guys got back? Because you left Omid there alone, I'm guessing, right?
No, Omid. Omid was not doing that well, but there was not much else going on. When we came back, it was all hell was breaking loose because they were all following behind, kind of thing.
See, when I came back, a zombie had busted into the house, and Clementine had shot it and saved Omid.
Well, he didn't get hurt without her because he was still fine. Yeah. So then while you're gone to Crawford, you find out again a lot of things. The stuff with the tapes, I wrote about that on the site, and I showed the tapes that are on our YouTube channel. You can see them if you want a spoiler. You kind of had an idea. There was some really bad stuff, and then you find out just how bad, kind of thing. I thought it was well done and well handled too for a touchy situation kind of thing, and it wasn't exploited for the sake of being gratuitous. I really quite liked it. And then of course you have all of the problems then going on with Ben, because by now you've found out that
Ben's a fucking powder keg.
Ben is the one that caused a lot of the problems that you've had along the way. So when he nearly dies, and you can feel that he at some points he's ready to give up. It's such a weight on his shoulder that's it, he wants to give up, and you have the option of either pulling him up or letting him drop, or basically letting the zombies get to him. So Joe, what did you do?
I pulled his ass up.
Yeah, Vince?
I dropped him.
Yeah. What a surprise.
He wanted to fall, so I let him go out the way he wanted to.
Oh, hello, Morden. So 62% pulled him up, 33 let him drop, and then
I'm shocked
5%.
so many people pulled him up.
I actually pulled him up as well.
Because he was such a fuck up, left and right. Selling out the supplies, freezing up when Clementine was in danger. No, that kid had to go.
It wouldn't have been too many more things where I would have said, okay, enough's enough, kind of thing. But I really saw him as a teenager in an insane situation. And I mean, at the best of times, you're not going to expect a teenager to always be able on their A game and doing what's right and things like that. So here I'm on my fourth teenager. So for me, it's like, okay, I know that your cerebral cortex isn't all defined. You're not thinking clearly here. Just try to help. But I was some pissed at him when he screwed up on freaking Clementine. Had it been another one of those, then it would have been, okay, right, you died.
If he didn't tell me to let him go, I probably would have pulled him up.
All right. Well, I pulled him up. And then here's where you find out that Lee gets bitten. And that's the big reveal in this one.
That was a shock.
Lee gets bitten. And so you can either hide the bite or you can reveal it to the group. 80% of people revealed it to the group. I revealed it as well. Joe, you?
I revealed it because they need to know, because I need to start prepping them to take care of Clementine.
Yeah, which I think is probably what everybody thought. Vince?
Yeah, I need all the friends I can get.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, now here's where you're at the point where you need to go look for Clementine, because she has been abducted, and you think that it's that Dr. Vernon who took her because he had insinuated that he could take her away from Lee because he would be better family material than Lee and that group would be. And so here is where you get to talk to all of the remaining people and find out who's going to come and help you. So I, at this point here, had it with Kenny. I had had it with Kenny. It was unbelievable. And so, excuse me, when we were talking, I shot Duck. I shot the kid so he wouldn't have to. I sided with him. I saved his kid. I'd been a little slow on a couple of things, but even then they weren't life-threatening, and I still saved his ass from zombies a couple of times. So when he was giving me a hard time about going to look for this little girl, I lost it on him just, I had it. If I would have freaking put a spear through his head if I had one handy. And so I got Ben to come with me because Ben's the first one you talked to, I think. Either Ben or Amid and Krista. I can't remember who are the first you talked to. But those were easy, and it's like, yeah, no, it's
Ben
Amid
wasn't
and
the first
Krista.
one I talked to.
Ben, yeah, he's coming along. He said that he wanted to do what was right by her. And then Kenny, I lost it on his ass, so he wasn't coming. So when you're looking at episode 5, it was me, Ben, Omid, and Krista. So, Joe, what about you?
I actually entered with Omid, Krista, Ben, and Kenny. So, like, I actually wanted keeping them through.
Okay. Vince?
I had Kenny, Omid, and Krista, yeah.
So you had everybody. So I'm the only one that didn't have Kenny.
I didn't have everybody. Friggin' Ben was zombie chow.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He killed Ben.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so you didn't have
See, I was rewarded, though, and we'll get to that in 5. I was rewarded with an amazing scene.
But here's the thing. Once I did kill Ben, and, you know, Vernon was all pissed off, you know, you murdered that kid and this and that, Clementine actually accepted it because she was upset. She was like, oh, you killed Ben, this and that. And I explained to her, I was like, no, Clementine, you know, he decided that, you know, he needed to step forward and, you know, help out the rest of the group. And Clementine, I forget exactly what she said, but it was like this, you know, story her parents had told her. And she's like, I understand, you know, Ben did what he needed to do to save us. And, you know, that he was a hero because of that.
Huh.
That was a really good scene that a lot of people didn't see.
Yeah, no kidding. That actually sounds pretty awesome. Yeah. Okay. So then moving into episode 5, this is where, again, Lee has been bitten. His arm is not doing all that well, and neither is he. And you are now chasing after Clementine, or after the person who has abducted Clementine. So you're going with your party of whoever it is that you chose, and see what you can, if you can find her or not, because it's not quite that easy either. So right from the get-go, though, you're faced with a pretty freaking hard choice, which you can see from the video all this time. I chose to remove
Oh my God,
Lee's
you lost
arm.
Ben.
Yeah. And yeah.
Oh, it gets better. Roger and I had the same thing.
Yeah. So did you guys choose to remove the arm or keep it?
Oh, cut that bastard off. I needed more time.
I figured at that point it was too late. If I'm already coughing and passing out, cutting off the arm wasn't going to help, so I kept it.
I wonder if it actually made a difference in your...
As near as I can tell, it only makes a difference when you're crossing the street full of zombies. He picks up a second weapon, like he shoves a shard of glass into his busted hand and just goes through, like starts dual wielding and just hacking zombies left and right. Okay.
Which we'll talk about that scene in a bit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So then you go, and we'll skip ahead then to what is actually playing right now. And of course, when they're jumping through to the other building, you find out, you see Ben fall down. If Ben is still alive, he actually falls down, and he falls on top of some of the railing and stuff. So he's impaled by this piece of metal. So did you, well, Vince, you didn't even have this
Yeah,
playing.
there was no Ben.
Okay, so, but Joe did. And I think, Joe, you made the same choices
the exact
that
same call, I believe.
Yeah, so basically at this point here, we go down, and it's Kenny and myself and Lee, I should say, of course, and deciding what we're going to do about Ben. And Kenny decided, I tried to take him out, and yeah, you can see.
Yep,
that ain't going to
happen.
Yeah. and so Kenny kind of forces you to his choice. Yeah. Kenny kind of forces his decision and forces you through the gate, and he decides that he's going to, like, it was funny because when you were playing it, we were talking on AIM, and you were saying Kenny's being brave here, and I was going like, no, he's not. He's giving up. He's got one shot left in his gun, and basically he uses it on Ben so that Ben doesn't get chewed alive, and then he gets chewed alive. But instead of knowing that's it, he's had it, shoot him and run, he just stays there and gets eaten alive. It was an interesting scene, though it doesn't sound like it was anywhere near as powerful as the one you're talking about with Clementine.
Yeah, but I think that's one of those things where if you did kill Ben, and you know, if you don't make the right dialogue choices with Clementine, I don't know if you would get that same reaction though. But you know, I knew how to handle the little girl.
Yeah,
that really didn't sound right.
No, it really didn't. No,
God,
especially seeing as you're not a parent and you own a van. But anyways,
So Kenny dies here?
Kenny dies as well.
Yeah.
Kenny and Ben.
So you guys didn't get the same scene I did with Kenny then?
Nope, obviously not.
Nope.
At one point, like you guys are trying to find a way down off the rooftop, and you've got Krista. And for me, it was Krista, Omid, and Lee, and like they're standing around this like pit into the building. They're like, well, okay, we got to get down to ground level at some point. You know, do we go down into this building? And Kenny just walks up and like slaps Lee on the shoulder. He's like, what are you guys standing around for? And they drop the freaking radio into the pit. So like everybody's standing around. Oh my God, what do we do? You know, are there zombies down there? So Krista just like, you know, screw you guys, and like jumps down there like Wonder Woman. She's like, I got this. But then she can't get back out, and there's zombies down there. So then Kenny jumps into the pit, lifts her out, and then kites the walkers away so that everybody else can get away.
Is that the pit? Like, are you talking about the when you're going towards
yeah,
when you're going towards the hotel?
I guess.
Huh. Okay, because you will see as we're talking later on. I think again,
get there,
Joe and I got the same gameplay for ours. Because from here, of course, you have to go and still find Clementine. As you're walking along, too, if you did bring Omid and Krista along, you're basically prepping them that they're going to have to be taking care of Clementine, because you're not going to be able to, obviously.
Congratulations, you are now a mother of 2.
Yeah. And Omid's not that bad.
Oh. Did you catch that dialogue, though?
What's that?
You didn't catch the dialogue?
Oh, no, I didn't. Is that what...
She's pregnant.
Oh. I'm trying to remember now if I remember seeing that.
You're right. The clues were there. They never quite said it.
Yeah. They make comments about it all throughout. Like they keep hinting about it, and Omid says it. Like when they're in the mansion before Kenny and Ben, before that whole scene happens. Omid's like, if you go and talk to him, he talks about, you know, I wonder if it's going to be, you know, that hard for us. But then I'm not just fighting for us anymore. And like, there's all these little hints throughout everything when you're talking with them that she's pregnant. She's pregnant throughout this whole ordeal.
Okay. I didn't talk to the dialogue that you're talking about. I don't think I talked to him. I don't think I got that.
Yeah, I think when you were watching,
you skipped that part. You didn't go up and chat with him. You went right for the door. So like, I actually sat and talked with him, and he stared at the couple, and he made a couple observations of the couple in the bed, and that's where like it hit me. Like he made that comment. I'm like, no shit.
Yeah, I think she was with me when I was watching the tapes in Crawford too, and the one with the pregnant woman. She didn't take that very well. But then at the same time, she also took the shot of whiskey. Yeah. So she was very hesitant about it, but at one point she's like, "Yeah, screw it." But so yeah, they didn't come out and say it, but enough hints were there that it's pretty much a done deal.
Okay, so at this point here, they're crossing a whole bunch of different rooftops, and they are, of course, trying to get to the hotel because they know that that's where Clementine is being held. Now, they get to a point, however, where there's essentially this valley of freaking zombies. The road is just full of them. They don't really have a way down either. They're going to try to cross the street using a sign that's connected between buildings across the street, so that they can get to the other side and then start hopping roofs on the other side to get to the hotel. That way they don't have to actually cross the street, kind of thing. So, but of course, I chose to I don't know if there is a choice that the others go first, but I chose, of course, I'm already a dead man walking, so I'll go across first. I'm assuming you guys did the same?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Okay. And then, of course, the sign is busting down, and so he's just going down to street level, and then he's going to just fight these zombies. And this is where really speaks to the quality of the soundtrack for this game.
Oh yeah,
and the style.
Yeah.
This is where I told Joe, make sure you have your headphones on and the volume up, because you get the music playing, and it's just perfect for when he's in the street hacking up the zombies, kind of thing. And it's just such a perfect moment. Just absolutely so well done. Tough as shit, though. I couldn't always time it properly to get through. It took me quite a few tries to get through. It was really starting to tick me
I think
off.
I lost a chunk of my shoulder, but I made it across the first time.
Man, no, I did not. I was having a hell of a hard time.
Because I had 2 arms, you idiot.
Oh, that's right. I did not. It was bloody freaking tough.
See, this is the hole. That when I got here, sorry to interrupt.
No.
When I got here, you couldn't see the zombies. So when the radio fell down and Krista jumped in after it, and that's when they found the zombies were in there, and Kenny sacrificed himself here to save Krista.
Huh. Okay. Well, one way or another, apparently he sacrifices himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So, yeah, that moment in the street where you're fighting off the zombies, absolutely phenomenal. I don't know, Joe, did it take you to quite a few tries as well? Or did you
No, I got it on the first one. I got
you
lucky.
bastard.
I freely admit that I got lucky.
Man, I had
My
such a hard time.
one-armed bastard got real lucky with timing.
So here is the scene right here that I'm talking about. So there's the sign, of course, that he has to cross. There's the hotel that they have to make their way to. And, of course, he's going to be going down in just a few moments. Now, when he does get to the hotel and makes his way up to the floor where she's being hidden, or being held, I should say, that's where...
I hope you've been a good boy prior to this point.
That's where it gets a little interesting now. So, and here is where I want to find out from you, Vince, as well, what happened in your gameplay. Because in our gameplay,
we were the same, yeah.
Because we took those supplies from the car, this is where freaking Yahoo, who owned that car and the supplies, blames you for because you took those supplies. And because you took those supplies, it was harder for he and his wife and child, and eventually his wife left him as well, and it was one problem after another kind of thing. They'd had some problems before, but this just kind of exacerbated it. And so he blames you, and he's been stalking you ever since, wanting to steal your child, not really your child, but Clementine, because he lost his. Oh, that sign's going down. And so it's, again, with us, it's because we took the supplies. So what's his rationale if you didn't take the supplies?
Well, you see, the supplies were still taken. Just Lee didn't participate. So he still, lost his wife and daughter and was, blamed that event. But he at least said, he was at least slightly nicer, like a little bit, because Lee, because this all comes down to him deciding if Lee is a fit father for Clementine, and seeing that he had at least that little bit of morals was, I guess, a point in Lee's favor. Not that it mattered for much.
But okay, so basically he's only blaming the group, not Lee.
Right, but I think it's pretty much the same outcome either way. It's just some slightly different dialogue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, do you think that's a strong enough, I don't want to say motivation, but I mean, this is part of the climax. Yes, the rest is actually winding down with everything going on with Lee being bitten, as emotionally incredible as it is. This is actually... everything's leading up to this with this stalker kind of thing. Do you actually think that was a strong enough reason, that character was strong enough for everything that had happened so far?
Once you get to the end point and you start talking and you realize how far gone this dude is, I think so. Before then, I was just like, that's kind of lame. And then I started paying attention. Is like, oh. Because, it kind of makes sense, because more dangerous than any zombie, and we've seen this many, many times throughout this game, is the other humans basically out there to, survive and do what they can. And the ones that are off their fucking rocker, like the ones that are I don't know, harvesting human meat, they become very, very dangerous, and they can really fuck things up for the few survivors. And it's like, this guy he's seeking revenge, and he wants to steal Clementine, and he wants to have a life again like he used to. And by doing so, he's willing to fuck over every human being he possibly can. And at this point, it's like, well, you're going to stand off against him. It makes sense. It makes a certain amount of sense that he would be where he is, and that would be his motivation. I kind of liked it, actually.
Okay. Vince, you?
See, I looked at it from a different point of view, where that character itself didn't really matter for much of anything. It was more, the tribunal of Lee is now on trial for, his actions, and he has to answer for everything he did. Because remember, the things he calls out, because he knows about everything from talking on the walkie with Clementine this whole time. I did things differently from you guys. I didn't steal the supplies, but that was okay. You're not a complete monster. Your group was still responsible. You didn't stop them, so you're just as guilty. But I killed Ben. In his eyes, I killed Ben, and all these other things. So it was more. seeing consequences of your actions from the moral standpoint instead of, okay, I did this, so this character died here. But it was more really taking that moment to kind of step back and look and see how your actions affect other people, not just your playthrough. So that's kind of how I saw this. The character itself, he was just random whack job number 47, but in the larger scope of the message the game was trying to give you, it worked out for me.
Okay. See, because when I was doing it initially, I just thought it was a little too weak.
God, I bet you wish you had another arm right now.
You know what? I thought I'd edited out all those deaths. I thought maybe show one death. We don't need to show every single time. But no, Fraps was still running, so it caught every single one. I'll edit that.
Because it was so cool here because in my playthrough, he finds like the shard of glass from the sign or whatever, and just picks it up and squeezes it in his hand. And you see the blood dripping down, and then he's just hatchet here, stab this guy in the eye. It was brutal and awesome.
It was not for me, and I will freely admit, I did this on, as you can tell, on a gamepad hooked up to my laptop because I don't have the Xbox or the console version, I should say. So it's just I don't have the manual dexterity for a controller that kids do, or somebody who really does a lot of console gaming. I'm a PC gamer, so give me a keyboard and mouse, I will be decent. But give me a freaking controller, no, man. So I kept missing the mark every time I tried to spear someone. I was like, son of a bitch. So back to the hotel again. When you're facing off against this guy, I initially, it did kind of bother me a little bit that the guy that you're coming up against is this guy that has held a grudge this long that, dear Lord, again.
Wow.
So I told you, I'm not going to hide
7.
It's terrible. I thought it was weak. I don't know. I was looking at, I can appreciate what you're saying, Vince, that it's not about that. It's about, everything that he's done and things like that. So I can appreciate that. But I don't know. I think that for a series that's this strong and this straightforward, dude, now I gotta leave it in because we're laughing. I wasn't lying. I told you. It was like
that one zombie gets you every
freaking time. It's because they give you an option of like 4 or 5 kind of thing, but I tried the other one. Anyways, it doesn't work out. Yeah. Eventually, I wind up getting out of here. Now I can't edit it out. Anyways, so yeah, like I'm looking at, okay, let's look at prior episodes and who maybe could have come out and been a worthy adversary and things like that. And you're looking at like maybe there was a survivor in Crawford, somebody that could have come after them that would have been, really good, or hell, it could have been Lily could have come back after them towards the end. And I think that especially Lily would have been far more, would have had more of an emotional impact because here's someone that, you fought with right from the get-go. Oh, I'm going to get past him now. See, I took Buddy's head off there. This is it. I can see the light. But yeah, I mean, if you would have brought Lily back, then
I just realized, again, I interrupt. I didn't recognize the station wagon.
Right? Really? You didn't?
No.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got up there and he started talking that I knew who the guy was. The station wagon completely, I was in a haze after the zombie awesomeness. I didn't even recognize the station wagon.
Just want to get through those goddamn zombies finally. What's funny is that when I was playing that part, I was, of course, again on the laptop, and my wife was beside me, and she was doing knitting, cross-stitching thingy, whatever it is that she does, and so it was like every time I die, it was like, son of a bitch. You having a problem? Yes.
Honey, do you want me to do it for you?
Yeah, go get Tristan. Let him do it for me. You could do this in one shot. So yeah, no, I think that I would have preferred to see someone like Lily or somebody maybe from Crawford or somebody else reaching back to, all the way back to the supplies in the thing, and somebody that would stalk you for that long. That's a pretty, I don't know. I wasn't as much for it.
Crazy people do crazy shit.
There is that. There is definitely that. Lily was all manner of crazy, though. That's why she would have fit, too. Lily was a fun,
true. I could see that.
Crazy to be around. So then once you get in, of course, you see here how, there's the room here that's being locked kind of, and you know that Clementine's close by, and then you find Yahoo with his freaking wife's head in a bowling bag. What was funny too is that I was at the very end where he's sitting down and they're sitting in the chairs together, and then it's right like from The Incredibles. He starts monologuing. Lee got him monologuing, and that's exactly what it is. And I thought it kind of was a little too drawn out with the explanations and stuff. I don't know. I would have preferred a little bit more action kind of thing. But I mean, what did you guys think of this scene?
I thought it was very, very TV-esque.
Explain?
TV-esque?
Like, what is that?
Like, it would be something you would see on one of those over-the-top drama TV shows on
you would see it on season 2
NBC.
of Walking Dead when they were trying to kill time.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. It's a time killer. It's a time waste, and that's I'm not as crazy about that in games.
See, again, I just took it as more introspective of just looking back at the decisions I had to make. So
right, okay, and then of course, as you're talking, as you got him monologuing, Clementine comes out of hiding and just knocks him over with either a lamp or a vase, and then you
tell me you told her to grab the hatchet, Joe.
I did.
Okay, what happened? Because I told her to grab the lamp. I was like, she's not going to chop this guy's head off.
She murdered the absolute shit out of him.
Did she really?
Wow.
Oh, you see, I still had the hatchet on me because
I didn't. I put it. I had it. It was down on the table.
At this point, I wasn't going to take any chances.
Oh, I
was
did.
Leaving everything. I was following his instructions.
No, I can't believe that's all you got. No, I ain't got nothing.
Clem saved my ass.
Wow.
She chopped him right in the fucking neck with the hatchet. She just murdered the shit out of him.
Jeez.
See, this is why we had the sound test with you being a little ballistic. I was expecting that.
You knew it was coming.
It wasn't that bad, but no, like seriously, I was caught off guard by it. I was like, holy shit! And then he's all bleeding, and there's like this big scuffle between him and Lee, and I was just sitting there, I was like, I am so happy that I put that girl through all that trauma because she just saved my ass.
See, I just had her knock him over the head with a lamp, and then I took him out.
You're going to see, I screwed up at one point, and he got me. So I got to do both. I did the vase, and then I did the lamp after. It was like, okay, maybe the vase didn't work quite well enough. Try the lamp this time, kiddo. We'll go from there.
See, I didn't even kill him. During the struggle, he got the better of me. Clem shot him.
Yeah, no, that's what happens, I think, for everybody, because
it was a Shane moment.
Yeah, more conversation and things like that, and then kill him. So, although I don't think that you don't necessarily have to kill him though, do you?
I think there's an option. Clem shot him in the face, so
yeah, no, I shot him at the end because it was like I think I strangled him.
I was strangling him, but it didn't quite work out.
I'm slightly ahead of you.
Oh no, yes, no, you strangle him, but then you shoot him so that he doesn't come back.
Right.
So I did do that. So, but yeah, no, so hold on. So yeah, you killed, there, you don't necessarily have to kill him because 10% didn't kill the stranger. So I don't know what happens if you actually don't. I'm surprised that 10 people let him live, or 10% of people let him live.
May have been a timer thing.
Yeah, that is true as well. Then,
damn time.
Of course, the really interesting stuff happens. Because at this point now, he's taking a turn for the worse. I love that throughout it all, you can see the color draining from his body, and he's getting more and more gray, and there's not a lot of time left here. They got to do something. And of course, he's got to try to find Omid and Krista. They go back into the street again, and freaking Clementine being a little trooper man. And so just before you pass out on the street, you see her parents, and you see that look on her face when, oh my God, it was just
this little girl, my God,
heart-wrenching. But then you wake up in a building, or in a building, and basically it's just the two of you locked in there with a dead guy who's strapped to a seat. But here it was one of those moments too where she helped you in, and I'm thinking he was passed out. That little girl don't weigh much more than $150. I don't think she could have helped him in a building. But I mean, they had to take some liberties, of course. So, but I mean,
but then you realize she's trapped in a building with you.
Oh yeah, yeah. When he gets that look in his eyes, where it's like, "Open the doors," you're thinking the same thing because he knows he's turning fast.
Okay, if Telltale had written an ending where Lee turns and then eats Clementine, there would be fires.
Yeah,
you got to wonder though, is that something that was on the table at some point?
Probably, I would imagine there had to be.
Because I mean, I don't think there wouldn't be a single ending that would actually allow that, because she's going to be in the second season that they've already confirmed is coming out. So, but you got to again wonder.
But during planning, somebody had to bring that up.
I kind of wish that it had been put in there, not because I wanted anything to happen to her, of course, but I wanted it to be realistic enough that if something did happen by no fault of my own, I made a wrong choice along the way and she bites it, I wanted it to be realistic that, I wanted it to, all throughout this game, there's been so many consequences that, I mean, if you screw up, your party's going to die. I mean, we're long-term readers of the comic book and of watching the TV show under duress. So we know that bad things happen to good people. So that's really fueled me throughout all of this, that at any moment, any one of them can die, even Clementine. And so knowing that, kind of having that pretty good feeling that she's probably going to make it through, it took away some of that tension at the end. It was still very emotional. Holy crap in hell, damn near crying at the end emotional, but it wasn't that visceral panic kind of thing. I don't know. What do you think, Vince?
I guess, I never considered, an ending where Clementine wasn't going to make it, so it wasn't really an option for me.
Right. Joe?
I don't know what to say.
Have you been listening?
No, I have. I'm watching, right now, like I said, I think I'm a little bit ahead of you. And I'm watching the scene where you're covering Clem in the goo, and it's like,
how did you get so far ahead?
I don't know.
Oh,
but I'm watching that and just kind of going because I feel so bad for her.
Okay,
sorry.
Well, we're not on the same part of the video then.
I know.
The whole
I don't
point
know.
of this
I
was
didn't play at the same time you guys did, but I'm at 114.
That's weird. Joe, are you on the same? Or Vince, are you on the same spot as him?
Clementine's about to whack him with a.
Oh, we're on the same spot then. Joe, you freaking loser! What did you do?
Seriously.
All right, so there, whack at him. Hit him again. Go for it, Clem.
You got wow.
See, I punked out. That's what I'm saying. I didn't know what to expect.
He messed you up.
Yeah, he just shot my ass. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, when at the end there again, I was really hoping that as much as you feel it at the end when he finds out they're locked in there and it's like, oh my God. And so you're panicking. In my mind, I know, no, this is just to set up that emotional upheaval of what's going to happen. She's not actually in any danger, especially the whole coaching her throughout and different things like that. So it's, there you go. Go get the lamp. Get the lamp, Clem. Do it.
At first I was like, oh my God. But then, I was like, no, they're not going to.
So that took a lot away from me. That took a hell of a lot away because it would have been written differently if... Way to go, girl. This time I know what I'm doing. You're a dead guy. So it took a lot away.
A lot easier with two arms.
It would. I'm beginning to think I made the wrong choice here. So yeah, I really would have liked it if the option had been there, where it was a very real option that she actually might die. So, but then of course you have how unbearably emotional that ending was. Just crippling emotionally. It was unbelievable. So of course you get her to handcuff you to the vents, the heating vents, and
see, I didn't have her handcuff me. I had her handcuff the zombie.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were still walking around while sitting?
No, I was down there, but I was like, well, right now the security guard zombie is a bigger threat.
Huh.
Yeah, looking back on it, I should have done that, but I had her handcuff me.
It didn't make a difference. he just ripped his own, like when he goes after her, his arm rips off and the handcuffs go flying anyway.
Yeah. I got her to handcuff me because I didn't want to turn on her, of course. I mean, you go through all of this to turn on her.
The timer was ticking. I made a quick call.
Yeah, really. And that's the thing, too, when you're looking at those final moments, you really wish that there was a lot more time. And because these are
but you see,
your final decisions.
I don't. And that's the one thing that really elevated Walking Dead for me over similar concepts like Mass Effect and Dragon Age and all these other choice-based games of... In those games, you have so much time to sit there and at least in your head kind of run through all the possible outcomes. And, so many people when they're playing those games do make the choice that they think is right, not necessarily the choice they want to make in that situation. Walking Dead doesn't give you that opportunity to try and worry about what the right answer is. It's what's the right answer right now.
Yeah, you don't have that time to sit and think, which is really, really good. That's one of the things I love about the entire game as well, is because, like you said, it mimics real life, at least to some degree. In that, because if you're in that situation, you don't have 30 minutes to sit and think, well, I could do this or I could do that. No, it's like you have to make a choice right the fuck now. And they do that, absolutely. And it's so wonderful. Like, it's shitty and emotionally draining and horrible because you go back and, like, when you do have time to sit and think, you're like, did I really need to do that? Was that really what I had to do? But it's perfect as far as I'm concerned with this type of game, because giving you that limited amount of time to make that choice forces your hand, forces you to go with gut instinct. Okay. That's what you'd have to do in a real life situation.
So let's actually look then at the game and whatever games we've played over the year and as well. There's no denying that I think for all of us, this game would have been nominated by us. Like, we would have put it in our nominations of top game of the year. Would you have actually, do you think you would give it top spot in this year? Joe, we'll start with you.
I would. I honestly would.
Okay.
Like, just because of the way the game was done, like,
don't look in the bag. Don't look in the bag. It's like Brad Pitt in Seven. What's in the box? What's in the box?
Which is funny because I was playing this at work, by the way, and they hear me screaming at the scene like, "What's in the box?" And like my coworkers are just looking at me, just shaking their head.
But what I do at work?
Work.
Some of us have desk jobs. We get to do stuff that we're not supposed to do. Anyway, but no, like, just the way that this game made me feel, and I'm gonna stress that, because games generally don't make me feel like horrible or elation or just like they don't have such a divine effect on like my mood. This game did all the way through. There were plenty of times where I felt like a terrible human being, or things like I'm really good at this stuff, and just like this emotional roller coaster. And then at the end of this game, that punch they deliver, that punch, it was really dusty in my office. Like, it was really, really dusty.
All right, Vince.
It's definitely up there. I mean, I played so many fantastic games this year, though. Like, I probably, but it's not quite as cut and dry of a decision. Definitely, without a doubt, top 3 and probably number 1.
Well, if we actually look at the nominees that Spike had even for the VGAs, there was this one, Assassin's Creed 3, Dishonored, Journey, and Mass Effect 3. Now,
throw out Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, see, that's they lose a little bit of credibility when they put Mass Effect 3 here, I gotta say.
Listen, credits where it's due. They got a lot better this year with the actual awards.
Yeah. Journey is
the ones that you saw.
That I actually haven't played Journey, but I keep wanting to, but I keep going back to that. I don't want to spend $15 for just a few minutes, but I think I'm going to have to just bite the bullet and play it eventually. Mm-hmm. You've been playing Dishonored though, right?
Yes.
You know what? See, I bought it. I just haven't had a chance to actually play it yet, but I'm going to be playing it before the end of the year. But
see, Dishonored's actually an interesting comparison to Mass Effect and Walking Dead of again, how your choices dictate, how the game plays out, but not in a standing there with a dialogue box. It's entirely how you're playing the game, and there's minimal amounts of dialogue options that I don't think they really affect much gameplay as far as the ending is concerned. But how you choose to play the game really determines what happens. Because like right now, I've already started my second playthrough, but my first playthrough I was death machine, just killing it, and the ending was really dark, and you saw how my gameplay choices really influenced how the story played out. And so Dishonored is another of my best games this year, for similar reasons to The Walking Dead, but without the emotional impact that The Walking Dead delivered.
Would you peg it higher in terms of, again, game of the year than The Walking Dead?
No, but it's up there.
Okay. What about, did you play through Assassin's Creed 3?
Oh my goodness, yes I did.
Okay. Joe, you played that one yet?
I haven't finished.
Okay.
I haven't had time to finish.
You bastard.
Okay, so where are you pegging AC3 then in terms of The Walking Dead and Dishonored?
I'd probably put it equal to Dishonored.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed 3 was so amazing on so many levels. If the actual game itself had been a little better produced, because let's face it, the Assassin's Creed games have always had their issues, and once you get to this point where there's so much going on, things just don't quite work right. But the way it delivers on every single thing it tries to do, and how if you actually put the time into a lot of the side stuff, you get a lot more emotional impact out of the game. Assassin's Creed was amazing. I loved every minute of it. I was jumping up and down come the end of the game.
She's seeing her parents. Oh my God. Look at that look on her face.
Oh,
It was just like, oh my God. Oh, and there he goes down.
mm-hmm.
Oh. So again, though, based on what you're telling me now, Walking Dead, you would peg it higher than those two anyway.
But it's not, like I said, Joe was like, oh yeah, done, Walking Dead #1. It's a bit more of a thought process for me, because I legitimately played a lot of really good games this year in my eyes. I mean, not just those three.
I'm not saying that I didn't play a lot of good games. I did. But like at the end of the day, Assassin's Creed is still Assassin's Creed, and I can just walk away from it and be like, yeah, okay. Dishonored was a good game. Like it was a really, really good game. But at the end of the day, it didn't have a divine impact on me. So for me, that's really what it boils down to. Like there those I can just be like, okay, I'm done, and be happy about it. And while they were amazing, it's just, yeah.
Well, it boils down to this too. Like, were you able to play any of these episodes of The Walking Dead in more than one sitting, or did it have to be one sitting?
Oh, it was a one-sitting game.
Have to get through it, and that speaks a lot to the game as well. Like, I mean, some of these episodes, I was up till 3 a.m. playing, because there was no way in hell I was going to stop. I had to get through it. The emotional impact from every episode, every one of them was strong, and plus, I really liked the episodic content. It really set you up that you were dying for that next episode to come up. It was brilliant. It was like it had so much more of an impact that because of it being drawn out, and it became this pop culture thing too, where everybody's talking about it on Twitter. Game comes out, I wasn't on Twitter for days until I finished it, because people were talking about it, and it was like, shut up, I don't want to hear about it. So it takes a pretty strong game to do that. And of course, then when you're looking at the strength of those little eyes, my God. The strength of the writing and the voice acting, and
right here, like I'm hearing Clementine right now.
Yeah, it was heart-wrenching. So this was tough for me too, because I played a bunch of good games, and then there were other games that I would peg in there too. Like, I mean, I know that nobody ever puts in WoW, but I mean, when you're looking at Mist of Pandaria, I look at all the fun that I've been having in it, and in terms of the quality of the expansion and what you're getting for your money, and like all the fun that I've been having with my son with it. And then I look at how much fun we've been having with Guild Wars 2 and the strength of the questing throughout Guild Wars 2, most of the zones and stuff like that, and how much I've adored that game. And then other games that I've played as well. And it's funny that the more I think about it, the more it's like, nope, no, it's this. This is because of the strength of all of, again, writing, acting, everything else, directing. But just the emotional upheaval, beginning to end, every single episode, how can you not give this top game of the year, in my opinion?
I agree.
Let's then look now.
I think what some of it comes down to is how much of a game was it? Like you said, can a point and click game legitimately be a game of the year? Well, yes, obviously it can. But I think that's part of what factors into it for a lot of people is, this was a great story. It was great, as we said, great everything. But I played better games, So that's at least for me part of the decision of why, while Walking Dead is still at the top of the list, it's struggling a little bit with some other more gamey games that I played.
Yeah,
this
but
year.
then you're defining what makes a game and what doesn't. That's a pretty
I'm
cloudy
just saying,
area.
Gameplay itself does factor into the equation. Yes, writing is important. Yes, story is important. Yes, characters are important. But gameplay also factors into it. So
I see, and I look at it in terms of the gameplay for that type of game, for whatever type of game. So the gameplay for this type of game was pretty much bang on for the most part. Not always, but for the most part was bang on. It was about making those choices throughout and a little bit of exploring things like that. So for what it was, I thought it's you can't compare the gameplay of a first person shooter type of game with the gameplay of, well, this kind of RPG-ish kind of game. So I personally was all right with it and thought that it fit very, very well, as a matter of fact.
Is that we're reaching the same conclusion, just through different means. That's all I'm pointing out.
Yeah. And so then we, of course, found out that there is going to be a season 2, and we saw the ending, which shows Clementine seeing a couple in the distance. You don't know if it's Omid and Krista. You don't know who it is. Hell, it could be walkers that turn to face her, and just that complete unknown. If you did not see that, you didn't go to the end of the credits, and
you're a terrible person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll splice it so that you can see it at the end of this, because at the moment she just picked up a bat and she's ready to whack herself some zombies. but yeah,
I love how she's choking up on the bat too. Like it's those little details.
Oh yeah. So I'm hoping that, of course, you're going to have some of the same voice actors coming back for this. Of course, Melissa Hutchinson for Clementine would be awesome. I think that the character of Clementine is still strong enough that she can carry another season, but now she's growing up a little bit kind of thing and maybe doing more. I'm hoping they don't fall into a death trap of the second season of, say, the TV show, but rather that they continue on with the strength of the writing that we've seen here.
I'm ready for Clementine and Molly's big girly adventure.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Make sure to check us out at internetdragons.tv. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave us some comments and tell us what you think. If you felt a little bit differently about the game and you didn't think that it deserved us, by all means, let us know. Call us out on it. So with that, we will talk to you guys soon. Did either of you get her to kill you? That's something
I did not. Well, no, I'm sorry. Yes, I did.
I couldn't do it.
She murdered me.
I was like, it's the right thing to do, but I can't do it.
No.
The gameplay mechanics were entirely there.
So what happened then when she killed you?
There's a whole lot of crying. Things went black, and then it went to the credits.
Oh, really? So you don't see her getting past this guy? Or does she kill you after?
She kills you after.
Okay.
So what happens is I kicked the bat to her after finally figuring out, I was like, oh, I actually have to kick the bat to her. So I kicked the bat to her. She brains the dude. Then she comes over and she's got like, she's got the bat and everything.
Telling her to look at the zombie.
Yeah. So then I get to that part where it's like, you have to shoot me. And she's like, no. And I'm like, you can do it. You have to do it. You're strong enough. She's like, I'm not strong enough. And she actually goes ahead and does it. And she's like crying, like these big tears streaming down her face. And it was just absolutely terrible. Like, yeah, it was awful. It was the right thing to do, but it was absolutely awful.
Yeah.
I still don't know if she actually shot me though. Like, it could be. I think it would be absolutely hysterical if season 2 opens up with her being chased by a Lee zombie.
You know, it would be cool if she's got you chained up,
Leaving
with
you
your
around
mouse missing. Yeah. It'd be like Michonne.
Like in the show with the one that doesn't, like the zombies have no arms.
Yep. Just like that. But just be Clem with a chain. That'd be so freaking hilarious. I need to commission someone to make a picture of that. Clem walking, holding a chain with Lee with no jaw, no arms. That would be freaking awesome. Okay. All right. We're done.
Oh, that's funny.